Hi, this is BK Blackrishna from manfulwars.com, where I'm promoting polite patriotism to help nice ladies and gents respect each other and teach kids to look, talk, and feel great, and locally discuss and share online info offline as nice, helpful people making better people and places to live. So that's on manfulwars.com, but this video is called Larry Bird on Kawhi He Stay, the King of Canada and a nice kid from California. And Larry Bird, legendary Boston Celtics small forward from the 1980s. Kawhi Leonard, currently becoming a Toronto legend and legendary small forward for the Toronto Raptors. It is the day before Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals with a chance to go to the NBA Finals. And a lot of Raptors fans are wondering, with Kawhi Leonard being a free agent at the end of this year, oh my goodness, I hope he resigns. Kawhi, Kawhi he stay. Why would he stay? Will he stay? I hope he resigns. Now, at the end of this 2019 playoffs, he's a free agent. He could sign with the Toronto Raptors. We've got a great front office, great ownership group. We've got great veteran players. We've got great up-and-coming young players. We've got a great franchise, city, country, fan base, and access to the whole world for off-the-court marketing potential. So the Raptors are in play. But so are teams like the Los Angeles Clippers from California, where Kawhi Leonard is from. He was from San Diego. He's got a house in San Diego. And there's lots of rumors that he's probably going to sign with the LA Clippers after his 1 year in Toronto is done. And yet, Larry Bird's experience being a superstar small forward for the Boston Celtics can help inform Kawhi Leonard's decision this year when it comes to possibly re-signing with the Raptors. And so, what I'll do is I'll show you an article by legendary ESPN writer Jackie McMullen. She's legendary ESPN NBA writer Jackie McMullen. And in this article, Larry Bird talks about his experience of being a superstar in Boston and how it made it tough for him to live in Boston, where he wanted to live. He wanted to spend the rest of his career there, or the rest of his life there, but he couldn't because he just got too big and it was just too overwhelming, the response from the fans. And yet, being from French Lick, Indiana, and the state of Indiana, he could go back home there to live, where it was his home state, and he had lots of extended family and friends there, and so it worked out really well for him. So when it comes to Kawhi Leonard, as a 27-year-old young man, the Raptors are a great choice when it comes to basketball and the chance to win. And they're a great choice when it comes to being a superstar hero, kind of gawked at by crazy fans in Toronto and across Canada, and then to go back home to California and chill out. So if he's going to live anywhere for the next 50 years, it's probably going to be in California and not in Canada. And signing with the Raptors and doing great things with the Raptors is a good idea because then even if he is a superstar hero and everybody freaks out everywhere he goes in Toronto and in Canada, when he goes back to California, he, being a relatively chilled out guy, can chill out there more. That being said, I'll take you to a little bit of this article. This is an article by, again, Jackie McMullen from ESPN, and this was written during the Indiana Pacers Boston Celtics playoff series, 2019 playoff series. And this article is called Larry Bird's Advice for Indiana. They've got to be mentally tougher, by Jackie McMullen from April 18th, 2019. Now, I'm not going to read the stuff that was about the Celtics and Pacers series. I'm going to read the stuff about Larry Bird and his relationship with Boston, a city for which he did incredible things that he's still, Larry Bird, Larry Legend, he's still known as a legend for today, some 30, 40 years later. So the article says, Bird delighted Celtics fans by making a rare trip to the TD Garden for Games 1 and 2. He does not travel often, particularly since serious back problems that plagued him near the end of his career have made commercial travel prohibitive. He said he considered making a trip to Boston last year for a regular season game, but decided against it, mindful that it was Pritchard's first full season as his successor in the basketball operations job. I didn't want to upstage Kevin, and that's Kevin Pritchard, general manager of the Indiana Pacers. Bird used to have that job in Indiana. It was Pritchard, Bird said, who urged him to accompany him to Boston this time around. So this gets to how Larry Bird is treated in Boston versus him going back home to Indiana and just being, I mean, obviously he's a legend, and he was a legend in Indiana basketball, but not like he is on the NBA stage. The way, the NBA can make you a legend in Boston. So in Indiana, yes, he's still Larry Legend there, but he's also just a nice kid from Indiana who went on to the NBA to do great things in Boston. And then when he comes back to Indiana, the fans don't freak out, or just people in general don't freak out over him the way they would if he had played in Indiana his whole career as an NBA superstar. So Kevin Pritchard encouraged Bird to accompany him to Boston for a couple of games in this year's 2019 playoffs as part of the Indiana Pacers team delegation. It says here, Bird received a thunderous ovation in the third quarter of Game 1 when the giant video screen flashed his image. And when he stood to acknowledge the fans, the building shook as the vintage "Larry, Larry, Larry" chants began in earnest. And so you'd get the same thing with Kawhi Leonard coming back here to visit Toronto after his career is over and getting huge ovations, getting celebrated, but not getting that same type of feedback necessarily in California unless he plays there. And if he does play there, it'll make it harder to live there. And that's something he's got to consider. And so pass this on or reflect these sentiments out there because it'll help inform his eventual decision if you are a Raptors fan out there and you wanted to re-sign with Toronto. So back to this article, and this is a quote. It says, "I think I've told you before. I think I've told you this before," Bird said. "When I first went out there to Boston, Dinah and I really liked it." That's his wife. Or Dina and I really liked it. "We were going to stay the rest of our lives." So Boston, Larry loved being in Boston. He loved being a superstar basketball player there. He loved living in the city. He had a great time. And he wanted to stay the rest of his life. But then he realized he couldn't. He found it hard. Here's why. Back to this article, and this is a quote. "But we knew once the season started, it would never be possible. We had this vision of going to Red Sox games in the summer," the Boston Red Sox baseball franchise. "Well, we went to some Red Sox games, and it was out of control. I got mobbed going in, coming out, and the whole time in between. We didn't understand that's how it would be all the time, every day. I always say my time in Boston was the greatest experience of my life. It's an experience I wish everyone could have, and going back there brings back a lot of memories." So, if you look at this quote, and you're Kawhi Leonard looking at this quote as part of your decision-making process, you've got to think, wait a second. If I was to be living in California, and I want to go to a California baseball game, right? But with one of the Major League Baseball franchises there, San Diego Padres or whoever. Do I really want that to be impossible? Well, if Kawhi Leonard was to be a superhero small forward NBA superstar who finishes out his age 27 to 37-year-old career with the Los Angeles Clippers or the Los Angeles Lakers or, a California franchise, and he was to do amazing things as a top 5 player, win championships, have people, living and breathing with, every move he makes and their hopes riding on him carrying the team to victory, then the same thing could happen to him, right? Whereas if Kawhi Leonard was to play with the Toronto Raptors franchise, and then he was to go home to California in the summers or for half the year and chill out there, then he could be a normal guy. Yes, he's an NBA superstar. Yes, he's 6'7" tall. Yes, he's a top 5 player in the world, so things won't be normal. But you wouldn't have the fans going as crazy as if, he actually was doing amazing things for their teams. So you got to think, if you're Kawhi Leonard, wait a second. So Larry Bird was like, you know what? We wanted to we wanted to live in Boston, but it says here we went to some Red Sox games and it was out of control. I was mobbed everywhere. We don't understand. This is how it's going to be all the time, every day. Now you got to think, if you're Kawhi Leonard, is that how you want your life to be? All the time, every day, mobbed everywhere you go? In California, your home state, or in San Diego? I mean, is that what you want? Probably not. And that's another reason. Now, if he comes back to Toronto and he's got us to the finals, he's won championships here, he's been a superhero, leader of the team, that could happen if he goes to Toronto Blue Jays games, Toronto Maple Leafs games, once in a while. When he's 27, when he's 37, when he's 47, when he's 57, when he's 67, when he's 77 years old. That'll happen when he comes back to visit Toronto once in a while, waves to the crowd who remembers his athletic exploits fondly. But do you want that for your everyday, day-to-day existence? Not only during your playing career, but after you retire? Right? When you're just, chilling out in California and you're like 45 years old and you just want to go somewhere and hang out and kind of be cool with your family or your friends, do you want people to be going crazy every time you're around? Probably not. So back to this article. Bird lived in Brookline during his entire playing career. When people drove past his home and tooted their horn, he'd turn to Dina and say, "There goes the fans." "It was the perfect area for me," Bird said. "Everyone knew where I lived, but hardly anyone bothered me. I would say over a 14 or 15-year period, only about 2 or 3 people ever came to the door. When I was out washing the car, they might stop and try to talk to me, but for the most part, the people there treated me with great respect. You win a championship in Boston, and that's what you'll get, whether you're the top player or the second or third player. They're just great fans. They were great again on Wednesday." And anyway, the article talks a bit more about the Pacers and Celtics series that was in the 2019 playoffs. But you get the idea. So basically, the reason I read this other part here is he said during his playing career, when he was living in Boston and living in a suburb of Boston, people were pretty nice. But then once he succeeded and became a superstar and brought championships to Boston and brought the city a lot of glory and brought the fans a lot of joy, after his playing career, when he went out, he was mobbed everywhere, like a superhero, like a superstar. Like he couldn't just be going out comfortable places and kind of chilling out and fitting in, where he could just politely say hello to people. People couldn't control themselves because how great they thought he was. And the same thing could happen with Kawhi Leonard in California, just like it's happening right now in Toronto, Canada, where if he goes anywhere in Toronto, I'm sure fans are just freaking out like crazy over him. And so, as I said at the start of this video, Larry Bird on Kawhi he stay, the King of Canada and a nice kid from California. This is the ultimate option, is to say, look, sign with the Raptors, great ownership, front office, great veteran players, great young players coming up, great chance to win, great city, great country, great fan base, great chance to reach the world, no barriers to your success at all, and then go home and chill out as a nice kid from California that is still an NBA superstar. But once your playing days are done, and once you just want to chill out somewhere and be a guy that's maybe known as a celebrity, but not a guy that people where you live go insane for to the point where you can't live there, then signing with the Raptors is the better option. So anyway, there you have it. BK Black Krishna from manforwars.com. Comment, subscribe, get in touch with any questions or answers, or financially support the Man for Wars efforts. You can see some information below. Hope this helps, and I'll talk to you soon. And go Raptors, and go hopefully signing Kawhi. Cheers.